Okay, we're back with another text layout and text editor tutorial for Squarespace. And this time we're going to use the same Squarespace Designer landing page that we have live once again. And I'd recommend checking it out if you are keen on improving your Squarespace skills and in particular want to build professional websites using the platform. Anyway, enough of that. Let's look at the section that we want to replicate in our test page in a different tab up here. And we're going to copy this section here. So we're going to create a headline, or heading 2 probably, or 3. Then we're going to create 4 different text blocks for these, and actually 4 additional text blocks with backgrounds for the numbers. So this will be the more advanced option. And then finally, to wrap up, we're going to get this working on mobile. And we're going to build it all from the ground up. And also, I'll show you how to create these angled dividers. And we don't need to even touch custom code to do that. So I'm going across to our test page. It's getting a bit full now, so I might delete one of the other ones first. I think I'll remove this one here that we covered in our last tutorial. If you're interested in how creating this effect, including this background for this tab here, then I'd recommend checking that video out after this one. We're going to add a section, and we're not going to cheat. I have ready-made layouts like that available, but we're going to start from scratch. And first of all, we're going to get the divider sorted. So I'm going to click on this divider option in the page options, or edit section button here. Scroll down, toggle that divider on. The default one is a wave effect, but the one I use from my site is the angled one here, like a guillotine blade. And I'm going to go with height small, so it's a subtle effect. Doesn't get in the way of the content. So we can see it applies to the bottom of the section. So if we wanted the angle above to be the same, what we need to do is apply it to this section above as well. But once we've added the divider once, it should memorize the settings. Don't know why it's put a stroke in there, but we can put a line in and we can adjust the style and the width of that line as well, or the thickness as shown here. But we're just going to remove that. And now we've got our blank section with those angled lines, and we're ready to start adding content. So I'm going to switch back to the current example, and I'm just going to be lazy and copy that text. And I'm going to go back here, and we're going to add a text block in, and paste that in. So far, so good. Jump back again. This time we're going to grab the text block. And we're just going to focus on one at the moment. So I'm going to bring this across to the middle. And I'm going to leave plenty of padding to the left. And we can adjust the gutter and the spacing between each block in just a moment. To get it to match this as well, we're going to go into edit section, colors, and we're going to go with the bright 2 option, which brings it onto that bright background. Okay, hope you're with me so far. Good time to save those changes. And I'll jump back in, and I'm going to add another text block, which we're going to use for our number. I'm just going to move the edge of this block. This is really important. In. And in here now, we can put our number. So we're going to go with number 1. And then I've used a dot, so I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to align the text to the center, or to the middle, and now the center alignment on the text to get that number perfectly in the center of that square. Not looking like much now, but once we've added our style background, and we can choose the color based on our palette, so I'm just going to choose that color there. And now we can choose our border radius. I'm going to go with 30 for now, but still it's not quite square, so we've got to work on that. It could be the case of actually taking it up 1. That doesn't quite work. Yeah, I think what we're going to have to do now at this stage is, first of all, I'm going to change this to a heading 1. So it really stands out. And I think what we're going to do at this stage now is go to edit section, and we'll use the gaps between each of the blocks as our main tool for getting this right. As we can see, as we go for wider, it's making those blocks smaller, but the gutter much bigger between each of the blocks. So that's one way we could do it, is go for this option and then bring it up 1. But I don't think we've got enough wiggle room to get that to work. It'll be too small compared to the text. So what we're going to do instead is actually get rid of that gutter or to a point where it looks like a square. It's not going to be perfect, but that's close enough for me. Now what we can do is actually use the grid spacing to bring that text block in. And if we look at this option here, we can see the text block's actually smaller. So I think I probably did it that way. Or what I did was edit section and now remove the height between each of the gaps. That gives us a little bit more wiggle room to get that to fit. So we're using the grids to play around with it to get it to work as we want. And now we can bring that text block in and we've got a design that we're happy with. So just to recap, I put the blocks in there. I used the grids to get a rough positioning of those blocks as I want. And then I used the gaps between each of the grid tiles, this 24 column grid here, to get it to look as I want. Probably the rounded corners are a bit too much on this, so I'm going to go back into the background options and change that to 20. And that's something that's far closer to the original example shown here. Might be slightly different. I think there might even be heading 2. And I think that is probably what we're looking at. Also, I wouldn't want to use heading 1 anyway, simply because we should only be using that once per page. Because this is a subheading, we could either go with heading 3 or 2, but we shouldn't be going with a heading 1 because that would go up at the hero section right at the top of the page. We use a heading 1 once, we use heading 2 and 3 as many times as we want. We should really go with a heading 2 here, strictly speaking, because they cascade in. So we start off with the heading 1 being the most important used ones, then heading 2 would be in the second in the hierarchy that we can use multiple times. And then we would use a heading 3 or 4 within a heading 2 section, if that makes sense. So again, we can check all of that, but now we've got this option. And what I'm going to do just as a temporary measure is just duplicate this block and see how it fits. And we can see here, we've probably got a bit more wiggle room to bring that out one, and because we can bring that block out as well. Okay. Or we could decide to keep the spacing a little bit wider between each. It's really a personal taste when it comes to this. Both work well when it comes to white space. And maybe even bring that down a little bit. Give it all more breathing space. In fact, I quite like that. So I think that's what we're going to go for. But we're just going to take it back to the one block. And there's a reason I'm doing this. And it's mainly because we can test it in mobile at this stage, get this block right, and then it's more likely to be right, not guaranteed, on when we duplicate it for the other content. In mobile, the vertical alignment works independently. The horizontal alignment, or the text alignment, does not, I'm afraid. So we've got two choices here. We could either go for this type of effect with a stacked, or we can align the block alongside the number. And again, give ourselves a little bit more breathing space by bringing it down a block. I think I'm going to go with that. And now we can replicate it. And what should be happening is the number 2 will be here, and then the text block associated will be positioned far better. So we're only fine tuning it as opposed to having to do that re-layout adjustment on each of the 4 blocks. Imagine if we had 12, that would be painstaking and something that we don't need to worry about. So I'm just going to duplicate that block, bring it across here. Just give a quick test on mobile to see how that's looking. As we can see, there's a bit of issue with spacing, but this is as simple as just bringing that down one block. And now we can go in and change the content. So let's head back to our example. I think I can type in the 2. I'm not that lazy. Let's double click in this block here now. And what you might notice is I copy everything after the first character. Squarespace can sometimes adjust the styling if we were to select all Command A on everything. So by leaving that first character in, as long as I remember to remove it afterwards, it's more likely to conform to the styling that was already in place, and that's what we want. So now I'm going to put a 2 in on this block. I'm going to duplicate these blocks for 3 and 4. Again, lots of nice, even, clear breathing space there. And let's copy it. Why am I copying the number 3? Come on, Elwyn. Don't be that lazy. There we go. We'll copy everything. I don't know why I copied after the G on get as well. It doesn't work like that. I'm getting myself confused there. And let's put the fourth one in. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. By doing it this way and building the first one, then the second, then moving on to the final two, as I said, it doesn't guarantee it's going to be perfect on mobile, but it makes it more likely. So we go back here now and we can see that they're in the right order. That's a good start. And now we can just adjust the positioning of those final two blocks. And I'm pretty happy with that. I can reduce the height of that text block and make this a little bit closer, but I don't want it too close to the bottom either. It's nice to keep that breathing space that we had in the desktop carrying across to mobile as well. But there we go. Nice simple effect. And we've got it pretty close to this one. We can see this is a bit smaller, so some of the margins, the gutter spacing is a little bit different here. As I said, I could have just cheated and used the Squarespace Chrome extension tool, which is available in our Designer Power Pack on this page as part of the deal. And that would allow us to copy this entire section and bring it across to another page. In fact, before we wrap up, I'm going to enable this extension. I'll need to do it on here because we need to have admin access. And I could copy from this page or I can copy from any page. So we can go to copy section. And now we can insert that section anywhere we want. So let's insert it below this section here. And the benefit of this Chrome extension, so it's the Square Websites Pro, and we're affiliate partners with them as well, so full disclosure. But that makes it easy to copy from one page to another, although the Save as Favorites option in Squarespace, so to show you that one as well, also works really well for that. So the option to save a section using this heart icon here, and then when we go to add a block, we can go to our saved sections, and I can see I've got loads of styles in here that we can reuse the structure on multiple pages. We built a full tool around this called SquareForge that has over 300 layouts that you can bring across into any website. And we use the Square Websites extension tool. I put it in twice here, you can see. We can use the Square Websites Chrome extension tool to take it from one Squarespace website to another one. And that is the kicker there. What it means now, if I've got a client who wants to use this effect, what I'll do is I'll bring it into SquareForge, and then we can take that white labeled section from SquareForge and bring it into any other website. I'm just showing you some examples. Here are just some content blocks that we can take. So we can log into the admin version of our master template for this, copy the layout, something like this, bring it into any other Squarespace 7.1 site, and then we can start adjusting it and fine-tuning it to work. Or alternatively, head over to SquareForge and just steal any of these layouts. You can use my tutorials to work out how to rebuild them. But of course, our main customers are designers who want to save a packet of time from having to do all of that. Anyway, hope you find all of this helpful. I'll be back very soon with a new tutorial. Cheers.